Hi, loves. Welcome to a new episode of AW Confidential. Today, we're going beyond power and position to meet the man who carries both with quiet strength. Russell Thomas plays Eli on BET's hit series The Oval, a role that dances between, I'd say, uncertainty, pressure, and purpose. But the real Russell, he's thoughtful, he's disciplined, he's a student of resilience, and he'll let me know if I'm lying or not. Leadership and self awareness. Today, we get to explore the human behind the character, and these are some of my most fun interviews because I get to dig. Hi, Russell.
Hello.
Are you scared?
No, I'm feeling pretty comfortable right now. We'll see
All right,
what these
love it.
questions are like.
Nah, these are a piece of cake, really.
Sounds good.
So you've been playing Eli for some time,
Hmm.
and this character goes through moments, as I mentioned, of pressure, uncertainty, and responsibility. Um, Now you play, is it VP or president, or you play VP, but you stepped into the presidency for a while?
Correct. I started off the show as a vice president, and then I got upgraded to the acting president. However, the real president wants his job back, and so that's the point of conflict right now.
Oh, this is already fascinating.
Yeah.
So when you first stepped into his world, into Eli's world, what part of you naturally met the character before anything else? What did
Yeah,
you connect with?
Yeah, I think I connected with Eli's sense of responsibility. And that was the sort of point of contrast with the character who I'm playing against a lot, Hunter, who's the president. Hunter he can be kind of irresponsible or impulsive. He kind of just does what he wants and whatever feels good at the moment. And so I thought, okay, how can I give the audience something different from what they've been seeing from Hunter so far. And so I thought about somebody more responsible and thoughtful. And so I really tried to just play into the contrast with the president at the time.
Hmm. Now, Eli operates, bit- I don't want to give too much away, but he's sort of that in between space where he has all these qualities, but he's also flawed, as
Uh,
all humans are.
Yes, when I first came on the show, I was kind of introduced as this like Boy Scout, and then it is revealed later on that I have my own set of problems, and
And
so
I won't give it away,
yes,
but you're a bad boy, Eli.
yes, exactly, but definitely a flawed character. And I remember having to explain this to my mom, who was very committed to the idea of my character being a Boy Scout, and be like, "Look, Mom, there are no good guys on this show. Like everybody has some problems, and when those episodes come out, then you'll understand what I'm talking about."
Well, I mean, it's almost it's we're all, no matter how good we are, right?
Sure.
We're flawed. We're
Right,
human. We make
right,
mistakes.
right.
We mess up from time to time. Now, in our real world, leadership is constantly tested.
Hmm.
Has portraying Eli shifted the way you think about power, responsibility, and truth? Because truth is a big one for us.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't necessarily say it shifted it, but it gave me some space to explore what it means. Um, I, when you're taking on a role, you try to pull from your own experiences. And I've never experienced really being in the White House or being a vice president, so I couldn't really pull from anything like that. But really just playing with the ideas of the sort of uh, different categories of leadership. So you can think of leadership kind of divided into two parts: the sort of title version of leadership, and then the sort of practice of leadership. And so, just because you have the title doesn't mean that you own the respect and the right to lead the people who you are in front of. And so, those are these sort of ideas that I'm playing with as Eli, because in a way, I have um, I have a bit of an inferiority complex as Eli, because I know I'm not really the president and I'm trying to take over this role, even though I believe that I am the person that should be in that role, because I am not appreciating the way that Hunter is doing the job. I feel like I could do a better job, but I know that I am not the actual president. And so kind of playing with those aspects of leadership and how it interplays with your title versus your actual accepted role.
Was there anything specific about playing this role? And I mean as a human, because yes,
Yeah.
Eli is, presidential, but he's also human. Was there anything about his particular character that challenged you to play?
The challenge really came in as I was I still remember getting the scripts and finding out some of the juicier details of Eli's behavior. And so when I first got the character and he's the boy scout, I'm like, oh, this is great. I can really relate to this stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm having affairs and doing all these dastardly deeds, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And so that was when I really found the challenge of how to lean into those in a way that I felt like would be compelling for the audience and still make sense for Eli as a character. And it turns out he's a little bit more calculating in how he goes about doing what he does.
Oh, juicy. Now, now leadership on screen can be polished,
Sure.
but leadership in life is messy. What
Yes.
does authentic leadership look like to you?
I I I think that authentic leadership starts with how you govern yourself.
Mm.
And if you can operate in a way that shows responsibility and trustworthiness and integrity, then you can start to lead by example. And I feel like leadership by example, as opposed to leadership by demand, is much stronger and more powerful in terms of how you motivate the people that you're leading. And so it starts with being honest about yourself, being honest about what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are.
One of
And
the hardest things to do, by the
exactly,
way.
yeah, it can be a real challenge, and understanding that people that can supplement your weaknesses aren't a threat to you, and that if you can build those relationships in a way that is beneficial, then it helps everyone involved and gives you the best opportunity for success.
So I did cheat. I have seen an interview or two, and I just listened to what you said, and I sense that you have a great deal of self-awareness. Is that accurate?
I think so. I try to do that, and I think that's actually part of my journey and craft as an actor, is to understand myself. Because that's really our tool and our instrument is ourselves. And so once you kind of understand how you operate and the things that drive you to move one way or the other, then it can start to help you in your journey to be a better actor. And as such, I feel like I've tried to develop and cultivate a sense of self perception and self awareness.
So if I asked you, can you give me 3 words to describe Russell?
Let's see. 3 words. Um, Respectful, even keeled. So that's really 2 words, but like kind of one term, right? Even keeled and watchful.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Watchful as in you're more when you walk into a room, you're more of come in as in um you observe as opposed to
Right.
just
I'm gonna observe first and kind of
Mm.
get a sense of what's going on, and then I'll ease my way into the conversation or whatever's going on.
Would your mom agree with with those 3?
I think so. I think
Okay.
so.
Okay. Okay, fair, fair. How do you bring those qualities into a character who lives in a world of secrets, strategy, and immense pressure?
Sure. Oh, I think that last one, watchfulness, is a very important one. So I tend to think of, if you kind of turn that up to 11, it turns into a little bit manipulative and calculating, and that's really where I'm starting to feel that Eli is moving into, especially in the more recent episodes, as he's really the struggle for the presidency is really starting to heat up, and and also in contrast with Hunter, who plays the president, who is so instinctive, and my character is a bit more uh, cerebral, and so it's that
Mm.
battle of sort of the emotions versus the brain, and so
Uh,
I try as much as I can to lean into that and to try to imagine how I'm trying to game out every scenario.
are you more cerebral? Russell. Is Russell more cerebral?
I think I could accept that. I like
Okay.
to imagine that I have an emotional side, but definitely I tend to lean on my intellectual side as much as possible. The emotions part can get a little scary at times. So,
Oh, it's scary how?
well, like you can say things like no one's ever said something they've regretted because they thought about it a lot, right? Usually you say something you regret out of emotion. So like those kind of things where it's like where you're afraid to lose control or you're afraid to get hurt. So in that sense, it can feel more comfortable to try to approach everything from an intellectual angle.
Would you say that's a flaw or it's
I
a
I I wouldn't look at it in terms of like a strength or weakness, but more as trade-offs.
hmm,
Right. And so there's in anything there are strengths and or there are trade-offs. There are things that are beneficial, but at the same time they carry with them, possible shortcomings. And in that sense, there's definitely shortcomings from trying to approach things from an intellectual angle. But at the same time, you get a benefit of, reducing the potential to hurt somebody's feelings in a way that you really didn't intend to.
thank you for sharing that. You didn't have to, but
Yeah.
thank you. So you've worn many roles. I think I read somewhere that you were a Pac-10 football player. Is that
Yes,
right?
yeah, back in the day,
That's
yeah.
that's pretty that's pretty back in the day. You're like what, 35?
Yeah, a little bit more than that, but thank you, thank you.
So you were a football player, you're an actor, you're a
Mhm,
storyteller, and
mhm.
I think you're sort of dabbing into, is it producing, directing?
I've done a lot of different roles in film and television. I actually got my start doing stunts, doing football stunts of all things. So my
No
football career kind of
way.
bled into my film and television career, so that was pretty cool. And I've worked in lots of different positions, like film crew positions, behind the camera kind of stuff. And I've written some things, and I love every aspect of film making and television. And so anything I can do to kind of add skill sets and add different arrows to my quiver, I'm very happy to pick up those
Wow,
skills.
I am impressed. How has this journey, especially I think one of the things I've had to learn as a creator, whether it's podcasting or my writing,
Sure.
it's rejection. And I'm still working that muscle because
Yeah.
it's hard and I think as I move away from living in my ego, it gets easier for
Sure.
me. It's not
Sure.
that it's easy. It just gets easier because I'm sort of detaching from my ego. And in this industry, just being a creative, it's part of the game.
Yeah.
So how has rejection shaped the man you are today? Because I think that does play a role. I think it could go both ways, really. For me, it's sort of forced me to be more bullheaded as far as, like that's what I want. I know what I want and I'm gonna get it. So it's made me more intentional. I'm like, no, it's laser focused. How has it shaped you?
Um, I think you really hit the nail on the head with the ego detachment. I found in any kind of creative role, whether it's writing, operating camera, acting, doing stunts, that the more committed I am to my ego being satisfied, the greater chance there is for me to be disappointed or frustrated if something doesn't go the way that I want it to. And I find that the more that I can, in your words, detach from that part of my ego, then the better time I have accepting rejection. Um, on top of that, I think it's very helpful to have clear, objective goals that you can kind of use as little milestones. You know, what I mean, like sometimes people say, "Oh, I," just in terms of of Hollywood and film and television, oh, I want to be a big star, and the gap from where they're at to where they want to be is huge, and there's sort of no intermediary steps there. And so being able to understand, well, what do I need to get there, and what does that actually mean to be there, and how do I create within myself the value proposition that makes it worthwhile to have me on that project in that role, then it's on me, as opposed to feeling like it's always on somebody else to make a decision to put you in that position. And so I found that the more I could develop a discipline of self improvement, then that helped me to feel like I was still moving forward, even though I wasn't necessarily booking every audition. And then after a while, you start to develop a resilience to the rejection and just find different ways. For example, with acting, you audition a lot, and I always say you have to get 100 no's before you get a yes. And it's really
Yep.
that those kind of numbers, right? And so you find ways that work for you. For me specifically, it was understanding that the job was the audition. And once I came to that realization, like I got the job. I got the opportunity to audition. I got an opportunity to create a character to work on the scene and take that for what it's worth, as opposed to saying only the actual booking of the role was what made it worthwhile. And so once I started to see the auditions as success, then it made the rejection of not booking it far less salient in terms of what I felt was moving me forward.
Wow. But that's taken some learning. It's not you didn't see this from the beginning, I assume.
Exactly. I can remember back in the day going to auditions and getting really attached to the idea of booking the role as opposed to just taking the win of getting the audition in the first place. And
Wow.
at the same time, I think maybe that there's something in playing sports and having that you develop a muscle of discipline, and that can help to give you kind of the strength to persevere through these challenging rejection and not booking auditions and stuff like that. So I think that was a big part of it. And then I can imagine that if you are an actor and you get a lot of success early on in your career, but it's always up and down. And if you have a lot of early success, that could be actually detrimental. And so in a way, I can look at the lack of success, if I can put it in those terms, early on as a way to sort of build that resilience to rejection that was necessary to keep me in this career for 20 years.
That's so I was gonna ask something, but
Okay.
I'll digress. My brain's just going as you were talking.
I love it. I
So,
love it.
so I believe that our experiences, as we know, they shape who we become. But
Mhm.
I also think the people around us help us sort of during that trajectory. For me, it's been it was my mom. My mom
Yeah.
was she was my friend, she was my spiritual guide, she was just so many things. Um, I lost my mom in 2023.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and I do mention her a lot in interviews because I believe she's part of me,
Sure.
and she's shaped the woman that I'm still becoming. Um, but she's also helped me shape the discipline I have, the grit, my voice. Um, she's been amazing. And I believe that every person, especially people that are strong, resilient, that have had a lot of life experience, there's got to be a foundation.
Yeah.
Um, who has helped shaped Russell today? Oh, well, I was gonna say how you stand in yourself today, I think is better said.
I can relate to looking up to a parent in that role. And for me, I also lost my dad in 2023. And
I'm sorry.
so, yeah, um, I, I look at his influence on my life and who I am, and I see so much of him in me. And so, in the same way that I said I'm a quiet person I observe, that is totally my dad. That's why I think my mom would agree with that. That's totally my dad. He's quiet, and then once he does say something, it's usually something that's like, oh wow, okay, you think he wasn't paying attention. He's from Louisiana, and we would call him the Gator. And in the way that the gator just has like the two little eyes and going across the lake, and you never know what they're doing. You think they're not paying
Oh
attention,
boy.
and then all of a sudden there it is, right? And so that's the way that we always kind of characterized him. And he had such strength and discipline. And really, when I'm kind of struggling with anything and I'm really digging down deep, it's his voice and his face that I see and hear, that pulls me through in those moments. And so, really, if I'm thinking, who that person is, it's a lot of it's going to be my dad. And at the same time, they're such different people, but my mom is very like bright and cheerful and talkative, and so I get so much support and joy from her. And so really that combination for me has really just been the perfect storm of support. So
Wow.
it's a mix between the two of them. But yeah, my dad is really, I see a lot of I see a lot of him in me.
Well, I'm sure your parents are very proud. And thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I love to do at
Hmm.
the end of the show is drop some truth bombs. And we've we've had a lot of truth here. But people see you in a position of power on screen.
Yeah.
You command steadiness and presence. But when all the lights are off and it's just Russell, what's a truth that you're learning about yourself right now? One you think that more men should feel safe saying out loud. What would that be?
I would say that there's, I don't know how to quite package this yet because it's something kind of fresh and personal. But the something about the value of relationships, and specifically a romantic relationship. I got divorced a couple years ago, and so, as you know, in the context of what I'm discovering about myself that maybe I didn't always know, is that I'm not somebody that really feels lonely very easily, but I really am starting to, as I'm going through life kind of on my own, really starting to understand the importance of having somebody in my life, on that level. And it's one thing to have friends, and I have so many amazing friends, but I'm really starting to see the importance. And I think maybe also in context of my dad passing, and um, seeing my mom trying to rediscover what it means to live on her own, kind of thing. We've been doing this at the same time, really.
Wow.
And so really, um, having a different connection and greater value for that romantic connection. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure
Wow.
if I packaged that quite the way.
No,
I
no,
hadn't really thought
no,
about it in those terms,
you,
but that's, yeah.
no, you actually, we'll talk off camera, but thank you for sharing that. I can relate more to that than you know, but we'll
Okay.
talk.
Okay. Okay.
Russell, thank you so, so much for sharing your personal story, for taking the time to be here today. I'm so grateful. Can you just share with us how we find, I think it premiered already, I think.
Yeah, so we're releasing new episodes of season 6, and you can find that on BET, and that's at 9, 8 Central.
Awesome. And your socials, I'm sure a lot of people want to find you.
Yeah, sure. So I don't do a whole lot of social media, but I'm working on that, and
You need
it's
to work. That's marketing. It's marketing.
I get it. I get it. It's just I'm more of the quiet person. I like to observe, and so that's me being like getting in the spotlight. And so I'm like, that's not me. But
I
at any
know.
rate, Russell Thomas, what is it? Russell Thomas official. I just changed it on Instagram. So I pretty much just do Instagram, and then that's a good place for me to interact with the fans of the show.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, I have to say, the discipline, the curiosity, the heart, the man behind the character, I'm pleasantly surprised. Thank you for
Oh,
sharing so much.
thank you.
Power doesn't just come from a title. It comes from the truth that you stand in.
Yeah.
And Russell has shared quite a bit of truth. Thank you. He
Mhm.
reminds us that even the strongest leaders are humans first. So remember that, loves. And thank you for joining us on today's episode of AW Confidential. Talk to you soon, loves. Bye.